What's up guys, Bluddshed here, and today we're going to answer the question, how do I survive in Diablo 3? It's one of the most popular questions I've been getting all season long with various builds across the board. Yo Blood, I keep dying, man, what's the deal? I'm going to cover a few things here, and this by no means is like a guide on everything. This is just me trying to help out and throw out some tips and tricks that I do with every character and every build and things like that. The first thing is to play properly. Now, every build is different, so you're gonna have different tools. Whether you're playing a Witch Doctor, you have Spirit Walk, or Barb, you have Leap, Wizard, you have Teleport, various things like that. You know, don't stand in the fire, and then use your tools to your advantage. Play around your shields, or hop over beams. Don't stand in bad things. Basically, play properly, all right? Number one, learn the mechanics of certain mobs and how to avoid them, and just kind of generally increase your knowledge of the game. The knowledge will take you very far, like understanding how Parthens work. Each enemy stunned within 25 yards reduces the damage taken, your damage taken by 12%. So like for instance, with Charge Barb, you would say DPS over here, and you're getting the Parthen damage reduction, and then it's gonna fall off once the enemies can't be perma-stunned anymore. Then you would switch over here to these mobs, you'd stun them until they can't be stunned anymore, and then you go back over here to these mobs, right? Learning how to play with Parthens, for instance, is game-changing, and it completely will change your experience from person A to person B. The same thing like Ashnagars, right? You have all these shields, and with Wizard, you're basically invincible, so Ashnagars like increases the potency of your shields. So if you have passives like Galvanizing Ward and things like that, you basically have so much tankiness. And then once you lose your shields, you're extremely squishy, just like every other intelligence-based class. So just understanding your shields, watching them, backing away for a minute, getting your shield back, then re-engaging into the fight. Learning the mechanics of not only your class, the build, and the items that you're using will just go a long way. Even with things like life on hit, if you can kind of back away from the fight, build back up, your health back up with life on hit on easier mobs, break line of sight, really work on your positioning. You can survive impalers, breaking line of sight sometimes. There's like pillars in the map, all kinds of things. It just takes a lot of experience and practice, and it'll get easier. The next thing after playing properly is to build properly. Again, every class is different. Every build has their own kind of quirks here. Build properly. Make sure you follow Blood builds. My build links are in the description. Follow other great YouTubers and streamers and use their builds, and make your own and all that stuff. Just make sure you're building properly and you're doing things that make sense. Don't be afraid to go defensive. Honestly, like drop the COE for Halo of Corinne. If you're playing Crusader, drop that freaking COE or whatever for Unity. You can push really, really far, and you can really min-max your character using a defensive ring or item instead of just going full damage, just covering the top people, just copying the top people on the leaderboard. Sometimes it doesn't always work. You need to understand the mechanics of your class and make sure you're building properly based on your skill level. And then you can always bump it up, right? Speaking on building properly, you want to also use the right resistances and look for the right things, and not just be happy with the gear you get. Like these shoulders right here are pretty bad. On first glance, they have armor, that's cool, but they have no secondary effects. So I'm basically losing something that somebody else has. I'm competing on the leaderboard with people with better shoulders than this. So get really used to perfecting your gear, building properly. One thing particular about intelligence-based classes is they have no armor from their main stat, right? So Dex and Strength classes get tons of armor. Wizards get no armor. So you want to build and put armor on all your pieces for Wizard, Necro, and Witch Doctor. It's super important. So you want to look for gear basically with armor, right? So this would be good, but it's not good because you also need a good secondary. It's okay if you have something like this where it's lightning resistance and all that. I prefer physical res since we don't have armor, and the most mobs in the game, especially in Greater Rifts, right? Most of them do physical damage. So this is like the ideal piece. This is one of the best pieces I ever got because it has the armor for the wizard and it has physical res secondary. So just learning what to build for your class, and hopefully the respective build guides that you're reading cover that because it's super important. But as a general rule of thumb, all intelligence-based classes need to stack armor as a secondary, as a primary, and physical res as a secondary. And if you have some other pieces with lightning, it's cool. But at least you have something. With this item, you basically have nothing. So really learn how to build. Just for the sake of continuity, I guess, strength and dexterity classes typically would build all resist instead of armor because their main stat gives them armor. You basically stacking what you're not getting is really important. The only exception would be monk. They have an ability called harmony. So harmony, basically you stack one single secondary resist and it doesn't count for your all resist. So monks, even though they don't get all resist from dexterity, right? You would only stack physical res. So let's look at it. So right now, these are my resistances. You would just stack physical as a secondary with monks or any mains, anyone that you seem the most important. I like physical the most. So I'll put this in here and now I have 382 and 308 of everything else. I equip this and now I have 500 and then 362. So stacking one secondary resist for monks, if you're using harmony, I think is the only exception to the rule. I hope I explained that properly. But yeah, you don't get that from all resist. You only get that from your secondary. Some pieces, it's cool if you don't have, your secondary doesn't match. It is what it is. It's really hard to get these items. But you can see the whole game is different now versus somebody who knows what they're stacking versus somebody who's just putting on good items and wondering why they're not surviving. People ask me how much health you need sometimes, and anything from like 800 to 900k, closer to 900k on hardcore, I'd say. You basically want to avoid most one-shot mechanics. Even if you're playing properly, right? You know your positioning, you know all your items, you have vast knowledge of the game. Even if you build properly, you have all the right resistances, you come in with augments, you're decked out, you spent month, 2 months on your gear. Even if you have all this infinite knowledge and you're ready to rock, right? Today's push day. You can still die, man. You can still get put down by bad maps and bad mob types. And learning this kind of stuff only comes from experience. As you're playing through the different maps and you're going against different mobs, make a mental note of which ones that you're facing and which ones you do good against, which ones you do bad against. It completely varies depending on build. Some builds suffer versus certain mobs, and some builds don't. So this comes with your own build experience. Like, Moon Clan Impalers, right? They're gonna put most people down. Even if you stack all the physical resistance in the world, they're still gonna probably put you down. They throw so many spears and they usually spawn in hordes of them. So this is really tough, right? So you're just gonna go through and this is called warpath.eu. You can check it out if you'd like. I'll put a link in the description, but if I forget, warpath.eu. You can see why I stack physical. Look at, this might be kind of small, but look at all this physical. So you have, here's all the fire mobs to put it in perspective. This is it. And then fire physical. Look, all these is almost the same fire physical as there is fire. And then lightning, that's it. Lightning and physical. And then you have physical. From here, all the way down. More. This is why I like to stack physical. All these physical mobs, man. It's actually crazy. Then it goes to physical poison. So, yeah, I guess now you can kind of see why we do what we do in a way. But just make a mental note of the mobs, which ones you're good against, which ones you're bad against. And when you open up a map, you'll be able to see like, okay, yeah, this is going to kill me, right? This is why I died. It's so much more empowering when you know why you died versus just dying and not having any idea whatsoever. Like knowing that, hey, I have a necromancer, I use Crispin's sentence, I can't CC mobs, so Juggernaut's really hurt or something like that, right? Juggernaut mobs just put me down and you'll die that way. But if you just know that you can't kill Jugs, you just skip them and just not even worry about it, and it never even enters your brain, you know what I mean? Even the maps, like some of those maps have some tight corridors, like you're fighting like in this little space right here, and there's arcane beams, right? You can see the affix on the elite, and you're like, well, okay, this has arcane beams on it. I probably shouldn't fight. This is not an advantageous fight. This is why I'm gonna die, right? But if you're fighting in an open map over here, like let's say you were fighting in this area, for instance, and there's arcane beam, it's a little bit easier to say, jump over the beam and continue fighting, for instance. So just, even the maps can kill you, right? So if you have impalers in an open map and they're throwing all these kind of crazy spears, like you're gonna take all the brunt of the damage. But if there's like a cool pillar or something, you can kind of break line of sight, like in the spires, you can kind of limit the amount of incoming damage that's coming toward your character, right? So learn the maps, learn the mobs, and hopefully it'll make your experience a little bit better. You won't die so much. You'll get more experience with every fight, with every fail. just make a mental note, and your experience will grow over time with that class that you're playing or build that you're playing, and that'll even transcend into other classes and other builds, because you'll remember what they do and how to avoid them. And when a ghost is channeling on you, you have to break the channeling. You have to just kite and pull them out of the zone, right? So you just kind of learn these things over time. I have a Greater Rift pushing video on the channel. You could definitely check it. It's like a 26-minute video of me talking about Greater Rifts. But yeah, even your cooldowns can save you. So just, I hope this video helped, man. Definitely comment down below if you're struggling with a certain class or build, and maybe somebody could answer. I will definitely try to get to the comments, or maybe I'll do a follow-up video answering specific questions if I get time. Shout out to the patrons. We had a Blood God tier patron from Dylan. Dylan, thank you so much. Or can I say Dylon? Thank you so much, man. I appreciate all the patron support I've been getting as of late. You guys are amazing. Thank you. That's going to be all for me today. You guys can find me at twitch.tv/bloodshed. I stream there 6 days a week. I'm about to go live later today. I've been planning this video a few times, and this is the second time I filmed it. I filmed it a few days ago because I wanted to get it right. Hopefully you guys took away something from this and it helps. But yeah, I can babble all day long. This is the Bloodshed, and I'm out of here. Peace.